So I think let's kick off without any further ado. Welcome to another Mastering B2B Marketing hosted by Shift One Digital. We are very, very excited to be covering the amazing topic of webinar marketing. So if you haven't already started playing with webinar marketing as a marketer, this talk is definitely going to unlock all the do's and the don'ts and, give you the inside track on how to run a successful webinar. So welcome. And I also want to just say welcome to my panelists and co-hosts today. We are joined by Irma Karsten. As you know, if you've watched any of our previous sessions, Irma is a passionate trainer. She's the COO of the Digital Marketing Academy, which is our sister company, founded in 2013. And we're also joined today by Amarhle. So Amarhle, welcome. Amarhle is our technical webinar video and audio specialist.
Okay.
Welcome. And Nomana is joining us again. You met her at the last webinar, and Nomana is a strategic digital marketer working at Shift One.
Hi, everybody.
So without any further ado, I think let's cover what we're going to be covering. So today we're going to take you through a step-by-step checklist. I do love my step-by-step checklists. And we're going to be taking you through some of the basics of webinar marketing, starting as always with the goals. And if you've done any of our sessions, there are a few things we always bang on about. One of them is goals. The next one is personas, audiences, or target markets, a big favorite of mine and Irma's. Webinar themes. So you're going to have to sit down and decide what your topics are going to be about. Your speakers, who's going to be doing the talking, creating your assets, doing your channel messaging, getting your webinar out there to make sure that you have invitees and attendees. And then obviously which platform, so your technical considerations, Amarhle will be running us through that, as well as what to do after the webinar. So let's just go and jump straight in, because we, as always, have a jam-packed agenda, and we are always trying to teach you probably more than we can in the space of an hour. So I apologize if we go a little bit too fast, but we will share the video with you and you can consume at your leisure. So why webinar marketing? So webinar marketing is a firm favorite in the B2B space. So if we just look at a few, popular statistics on webinars, 72% of your audience prefer watching a video over reading text. So video marketing and webinar marketing, and at the end of your webinar, you've got a whole bunch of video assets that you can send out there. It basically unpacks what you know to your audiences in a helpful way. So 20 to 40% of webinar attendees turn into qualified leads. So this is the real reason we're here, folks, is lead generation. Knowledge sharing and lead generation leads to business growth. 5% of your attendees end up purchasing, which is a good conversion rate. 74% of B2B marketers said that a webinar is one of the best ways to generate high quality leads. So that really is why we are talking about this and why Shift One actually runs our webinars. So a few more statistics for you, some best practice statistics. 57% of marketers run as many as 50 webinars a year. 50, guys, 50. I mean, we thought we were doing good with one a month, and people are churning out 50. So, and 54% of them as well, which is quite impressive. And as we've highlighted before, most of our statistics are from America. And because we are a global business, and I hope you are too. 28% of marketers choose to improve audience interaction with the help of polls, votes, and questions. So we choose to not use the poll feature. We like to use the chat feature. Welcome to Dexter from the Philippines. Nice to have you. 36% of attendees watch pre-recorded webinars, while others watch both on demand and live. And that's actually the beauty of a webinar. It's actually not about who is sitting in the audience right now. It's about who will potentially watch this beautiful video asset that you are going to use in your marketing that lives forever and is forever garnering views. And that is also the view that you need to take. 91% of businesses say that pre-recording saves time and energy. And that is also something that you can do. If you have speakers that are nervous or that don't really want to be live on camera, then you can pre-record it and package it. But we do love the crackle and energy of a live session. 67% of webinar attendees say that the most important thing for presenters is to be passionate and engaging. So I hope that you find us exactly that, passionate and engaging. So why webinars? Thought leadership, knowledge sharing, content marketing. Add to that your lead generation, and that leads to business growth and success. So we have a lot of clients coming to us saying, just do lead generation for me. We just want leads. And we say, you cannot have one without the other. The two need to work together. You can't just do lead generation. And if you're just doing thought leadership without lead generation, you're not going to necessarily grow as fast. So the two work hand in hand. And if you missed our lead generation webinar, go and have a look. That was a powerful session on B2B webinars. So we really want you to look at the benefits of hosting a B2B webinar. And, some of the benefits, as we've highlighted before, you're going to be knowledge sharing, lead generation, brand visibility, and engagement. And those are some of the reasons why you definitely want to be looking into that. It's also cost efficient. I mean, I think webinars really just escalated in popularity after COVID, and they haven't gone away. So you may have gone back to some of your face-to-face conferences, but you need a venue and it's a lot more expensive, and you've got logistics and you've got to hire people, and then there's food. So actually having a full, the costs are extremely high to face-to-face, and webinar, cheap and cheerful, anyone can run it, and it can literally cost you the smell of an oil rag, and you can have a professional webinar. Plus you get a lot of data and analytics, and it gives you a bit of flexibility. So I'm just going to carry on speaking since I have the mic, and I'm going to just quickly dive into webinar strategy. So let's talk a little bit about webinar strategy, because everything starts with a strategy, right? So strategy is your roadmap. It tells you what are we here to do? So whenever we have a client come on board that wants to discuss a webinar, and we're running a webinar for them, we have one of our rapid discovery processes. It's sort of a collaborative workshop where we just try to dive into the most important topics, and we're going to be covering this in our talk. So obviously the first thing we start off with is your KPIs, goals and objectives, and we're going to be going through this in a bit of detail. We look at your target audiences, who are we trying to reach, what are their needs. Based on that, we then say, okay, what are we going to be talking about? What's the topic and the themes? We identify then our speakers or our collaborators. We go away and design all the assets and make the creative look and feel, choose our platforms, and then we burst it out there, and we make sure that we get as many attendees, or we could send it to just a small selected, group of attendees based on a list. And then we look at obviously your technical requirements. So couple of key considerations, just very briefly, is to make sure that the platform and the brand align. Do your promotion, make sure you have a follow-up plan, have an engagement strategy, and then obviously just to consider any legal considerations. So Irma, I'm going to hand over to you to chat a little bit about webinar goals. So let's unpack each of those things in more detail. And that is basically the summary of what we're going to be covering today.
Thanks, Dylan. So yeah, that's as with every digital marketing effort, we always start with what are we trying to achieve, right? So you need to be very clear before running a webinar. What are your goals in terms of running this, right? Because your webinar marketing can serve a variety of goals in the context of B2B specific. And that could be designed to either educate or engage, and then obviously convert your audience into leads, right? But it also helps to build your brand authority and credibility. So this is a powerful tool, right? And a platform that actually helps us to address any of your goals. So it may be any of the goals listed on the screen, but you need to be very clear what is the outcome we want. So we don't just run webinars for the sake of them. We want a very specific outcome for our audiences, but for our businesses as well. And that brings us to the audiences, right? So once you've established your goal and what it is that you are trying to achieve, then we need to be very clear. Who are these potential attendees of our webinars, but also who are our current clients and our potential clients? And that's where you may have seen this matrix before. We always use it in our webinars because we always refer back to this. In every single piece of work we do, is be very clear. What is the size of the business that you are trying to attract? What does your clients look like? Who are the decision makers in those companies or industries that you work with? Who are the influencers or subject matter experts. What are their needs? Can you bring them in as panelists? Can you leverage off their expertise? What do they actually need? What is the problem you solve for them? And how does your webinar, the topic, your goal for your webinar, align with your audiences in terms of the messages we carry? And that's also where we then need to decide on which platform is best to actually distribute, not just our webinar content, but obviously also all of our marketing content. So yes, you've seen this slide of the target or our personas many times before. It's one of our favorite tools in digital marketing. Sorry, Dylan, can you just, there we are, thank you. Right, and as always, we start with who is that person on the other side of the screen that we are creating this webinar for? Not just webinars, all of our digital assets, right? What do they actually need? Where does the topic that we present fit in with their needs and the message they need, and the time they actually invest in these webinars. So be very, very clear to align with all of your messages across channels, and then align in your webinar messaging as well. So that then brings us to the next part, which talks about the webinar themes, to decide what will the theme of your webinars be. So Dylan, maybe just take us through the themes.
Yeah, so what we've done on the Shift One side is we've looked at what are the topics that our customers keep asking us about? What are the burning needs of our customers? So because we've done our target market table and we know who our audiences are, we know what their needs are, we've created content that matches with their needs. So for example, those of you who've attended a few of these sessions will know we've covered the different, top digital marketing trends, AI marketing tools, everything B2B, because that is our biggest niche and the audience that we serve. And if you look back at our websites and you hover over our services tab, you'll see that actually we've got a B2B marketing section. We're covering most of these topics of the services that we offer, and that happens to dovetail with the audience's needs. So in other words, if you have a business that sells something your customer doesn't need, you have a problem. You're selling the wrong thing, or you're selling to the wrong customer. So as a business, your customers have these needs, and hopefully your products match those needs and you go to market with that. And so that's basically what we're doing, is we're highlighting how our expertise, and we're solving the customer's problems at the same time. Not everybody wants to be our customer. A lot of people watching here, they might be saying, I'm going to do it myself, or I've got another agency, or no, I can't afford it, or I'm not ready yet. But there's always a small percentage, 5 to 10%, of people watching or viewing your content that say, I don't have the time. I like this company. I like the way they speak. I like their energy. I like, their expertise, and I want to work with them. So at the end of the day, remember, you are speaking to those people. You're not speaking to the guys who are going to go away and do it themselves. So yeah, so when you're unpacking, what are we going to be talking about? Make sure that you're talking about a relevant customer need, but it doesn't help if you don't sell that product. So just as a quick example, we had one of our clients we've actually got a couple of clients that have gone on their own and written articles or given talks in public arenas about topics that are completely unrelated to the services that they sell. They're passionate about it and it's a customer need, but it doesn't relate whatsoever to what they sell. So that's kind of just like, are you an NGO? Do you need to make money? If you don't need to make money and you're just there to be awesome, then go, fine. But in both of these cases, these companies need to be making money. So that is what, that's a misalignment. So just make sure that if you are talking about a topic, that it is a topic that your customers benefit from and that you will benefit from. It has to be a win-win situation. So very important. Then go away, create an agenda, get some structure. Who's going to be speaking? Who's going to introduce it? Do we need PowerPoints or keynotes? Do we have the bios? Get everything. Do all of your groundwork. Who's going to be playing video? Who needs sound? Who needs lighting? All of that stuff. And then you're going to go away and you're going to actually identify your speakers that are going to be giving the talk or engaging with your panelists. So, you could pull some people from your team, as we've done with Namana and Amakle and Irma. You could bring in external people. You could bring in suppliers. A very clever strategy is to bring in customers, because then they actually are endorsing your business at the same time. And they actually can talk about how, the webinars that you ran for them worked, or this service that you did worked for them. So almost like a living case study. You could also bring in some thought leaders, but just remember that if you're bringing in anyone you're partnering in with could potentially, get work directly. So don't partner with a competitor, obviously, or someone that can steal your lunch, and don't partner with anyone that can overshadow you. So if you partner with someone who's got a way bigger brand than you, they're going to dominate. And actually, you want to set your brand up to be the beneficiary of the sunshine. You don't mind sharing some sunshine, but you definitely don't want to be sitting out there in the dark and in the cold. Another question you might ask yourself is, do you want an MC? Do you want someone to actually facilitate it? And we've done a number of webinars where we've actually brought in a professional MC, and the MC just helps the whole conversation to flow. And this can be digitally, or it can be, face to face. But sometimes an MC does help your participants relax, and your speakers to just like warm up a little bit and not feel too uptight. So yeah, you can definitely either bring someone in from your team to be the MC, or we've had MDs act as MCs, or you can bring in an external facilitator. We've had some professionals that are very funny, and they come with a very warm vibe, and they just depending on the theme of what you're looking for. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Irma to talk us through some assets.
Right, so now that you've decided what your topic, your theme is, and who you would want in the webinar, then it's also important to start putting your assets together. So there are quite a few elements that we need to think of when we put a webinar together. So that's where you need to think about what is the overall look and feel we're going for. Is it more formal? Does it have to align very strictly with your corporate identity or your brand guidelines? But then it's not just about the webinar. Remember, we also have our marketing that we're going to do to get our attendees to take note of the webinar. So there should also be designs made for your web pages where people can find more information about the webinar. You need to create a landing page, because landing pages are great to get you potential webinar attendees to sign up and give you the details. But also email templates. What does the emails look like during your communication? When users sign up, and you may have experienced some of our designs already. You've received a confirmation email when you set up, or when you registered. You may have visited our landing page or other pages on our website. Then also during your webinar, what is the collateral you're going to use in terms of your presentation? Do you need PowerPoints? And also, what is your social designs going to look like leading up to the webinar and afterwards, right? And that's where we also need to be very clear about the webinar background themes. You'll see we all have a consistent theme. All of our backgrounds look the same. But if you are going for a more relaxed environment, you may just want to use your speaker's own backgrounds, right? So that all depends on what is the overall outcome that you're going for, and what is the theme, and what is the objective of your webinar. Is it engaging? Is it educating? Is it actually announcing a big company announcement? Then you may want to adjust your designs and your assets accordingly. So also then a very big part is your PowerPoint decks or your slide decks. And that's where you need to be very clear, that PowerPoints, you should not kill, or we don't want death by PowerPoint for your delegates, right? Your PowerPoints is a tool. So not just in a webinar, but in all presentations and teaching sessions. So your PowerPoint gives your audience a visual focus point while you are speaking to actually highlight main key points, but they should not read from your slide, because it's very difficult with a text-heavy slide where users are trying to read what's on the slide and then they're losing the speaker, right? So be very clear with your PowerPoint designs, but also get a professional. If you have if you are going to launch a new product, you are really going to need a very professional design to showcase your products, right? We are teaching in this webinar. It's more about sharing knowledge. So our PowerPoints have a little bit more text in there so that you can refer back to them in the recording and have little bits of reminders in there. So it's this golden thread weaving together in terms of what are we trying to achieve. Also, some webinars may work well with using video content within them, kind of like if it's a product launch, again, as an example, you may want to show your product, but they don't always work. It's time consuming. And, there could be technical aspects that often bomb out with videos in a webinar. So that's also where Amartya is going to talk to us about the technical bit. And yet, public speaking 101, don't read your slides, all right? And always give practical examples. So you will see on each of our slides, we've provided you with an example. What does a landing page look like? What does design look like? Right? And then also, when you prepare your slide deck, or when you prepare for your webinar, dry run at least 3 times. So Dylan, thanks. You can maybe just click to the next slide and make sure that if you are, if your speakers are actually going to present for the first time, make sure that you have more practice sessions in there. Do not let them loose on the day of your webinar the first time live in there, right? Because there are always unexpected things that happen. We present all the time, on stage, in person, online, and it's hardly ever that you don't have some glitch somewhere. So that's why practicing and knowing what to expect and have a contingency plan up front will help you to feel more natural and prepared within the session. So that's also where your technicians and your technical support teams or a professional team like us can also help you with your setup. And just take your panelists through this process, because not everybody may feel equally comfortable in front of a camera. Right, so the next part then, if we can skip to the next slide, is the landing page. So remember, a landing page is separate from your web pages. Landing page is very specific. So create a focused landing page just for your webinar. Explain to potential attendees what the webinar will be about and all the details, the dates and how to sign up, with what they should expect. Right, so a landing page not have all kinds of messages. It's very focused. So make sure that you have a very specific landing page just for your webinar. And then after your website, the next part then is where you can also then utilize the assets you created. So all of these assets together, your slide deck, your social media ads, your landing page, and the video content of your webinar, or the actual content of your webinar, is fantastic content for articles. Remember, in B2B, we want content which, your audiences want solid information. So use all of these assets together. It's not a one-time only creation. Use all of this and then combine it into an article. So your assets keep working for you. Right, so there's a lot to think about when you set up your webinars, but also then very important is your channel messaging. And Numana is going to talk us through, the communication on the different channels. Thanks, Numana.
Thank you very much, Irma. All right, so I'm going to dive right into step 6. It's all about your messaging and your different channels. First one is to understand your audience. I think Irma did go brush through it, and we do have a previous webinar where we went into strict detail on it. So just check out our B2B lead generation webinar just to get more understanding on how to compile your audience. And the next one would be the power of your channels. If you are in the B2B space, leverage your LinkedIn, your email. And it's a good bet because you want to make sure that everything integrates really, really well when you are trying to make a clear message. Okay. The third one would be your webinar information needs to be integrated throughout your brand, meaning your website, your socials, and emails. Everything needs to talk to each other. If I am going to be signing up to your webinar, I want to sign up, get an email, I want to visit your website, and I need it to pop up that you are having a webinar. When I'm visiting your socials, all these different channels need to be speaking to each other, so I, as a potential attendee, am not confused with what's going on. Next one would be understand where your prospects are in your journey. Webinars are coming in during the consideration phase of the buyer's journey. So your audiences are considering potential solutions. They have identified right now what their problem is. Your job as the person who is doing the social media, writing the email marketing, and doing all those very technical integrated stuff is to understand that you're trying to prove that you or your company or your brand has the answer to your prospects' problem. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I'm going to go to email marketing. So email marketing is essential because that is where, I mean, if you've ever signed up for anything, they'll have some sort of reminders. They're going to be having some sort of, extra juicy information about the topic. So this is kind of a template that I'd be using when I'm creating the email marketing for webinars. I have an introductory email because you want to make sure that your attendees are kind of warmed up. They kind of understand what they're digging into. Are they even interested in continuing signing up, or do they actually want to attend? So you want to make sure in your introductory email that you give them all the juicy stuff going on, the stats and why they should be interested. And then a few days later, just before your actual webinar, a reminder email. Guys, we forget. I don't know about you, but I will sign up for something and then life happens. And if people don't, or a brand doesn't communicate with me, it makes me feel like, it's not important. Maybe I was interested in the beginning of the month, but sending a reminder email puts you in the front part of your potential attendees' mind that, yes, there is a webinar I was totally interested about. And then post-webinar, you need like a post-webinar mailer. I love that, I guess, synergy where I am involved in a virtual event, and I get the mailer before, and people, they remind me. It's almost like a little assistant, the psychology of it is great as a person receiving it. So I get the pre-mailer, and then after the whole thing happened, I get something that's reminding me that, hey guys, thank you for joining my webinar. Here is a what's a good word for it? Here's a video link. If you maybe missed 15 minutes, you can just catch up on that 15 minutes. So it's really good conversation with your potential prospects and attendees. Next slide, please. And then we're going to be talking about the Zoom auto mailers. So we currently use Zoom, and Amahi will take you into a bit more detail about the other platforms. But the best part about Zoom auto mailers is that your attendees get a registration confirmation, they get more reminders on the day before, and you can segment people who did register but did not attend. Will be getting an absentees mailer. So like, hi guys, you missed it. We missed you. Here, watch our video to catch up when you have any questions. And the people that did attend would get a thank you email, give us feedback. So all these little, little nuggets are really useful when you're sitting down with your marketing team and are just optimizing for your next webinar to be like, this is the feedback we got from our audience, and this is what we're going to do better. So make sure that you do have auto mailers, you do have feedback forms, because that's really essential into understanding how the experience happened during your webinar. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the organic social media part. And you start planning organic media, and a lot of us have teams. A lot of us are well-versed in social media, and the flow is really simple. You have planning phase, you have the content creation phase, you have the distribution and promotions, and then you obviously have your community manager who would be engaging. So making sure that your social media team, if you do have a team, or if you're doing it alone, making sure that you sit down and you plan the small little details. As I said, everything has to talk to each other, or else your community will be confused what's going on. So planning is highly essential. And then next slide, please. Right. So after implementing the organic side, if you have a little bit of extra money, you have space on your budget, you can integrate paid ads. And then you can add in, you boost a post on LinkedIn, on your Meta universe, or your Facebook and Instagram, just so you can increase potential reach. That's if you do have a budget. If you don't, you want to make sure that your organic, irregardless, you want to make sure that your organic social media plan is as flawless as possible. And I'm not going to go really too deep into the social part, because our next webinar will be digging really deep into social media marketing. So make sure you register for it if you want more insight on how to play around with social media marketing. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Amahi to teach you about the technical side.
Hi guys, thank you, Nomana. As Nomana has said, once you've planned your content and you really have decided on how you want to structure your webinars, I think it's important to then choose the kind of platforms that you want to engage in. There are a number of platforms for webinar marketing that really help to create content and just to also streamline across all platforms. So one that we really use already, as you can see, is Zoom. So for us, Zoom is a really powerful platform because it's user-friendly and it really allows us to engage with our audience and also create analytics that help us study who we're marketing to. A nice thing is that it also has breakaway rooms. So you're able to have chats in different rooms with different people and really, really engage with your audience as a whole. Another platform we have is StreamYard. StreamYard is quite a popular platform. And I think one of its popular factors is that it auto records content and is reusable as well. So this content, you can take it and reuse it to create short snippets, as you see. If you go on our page, we also create a lot of short snippets with the content that we get from Zoom. And this is also a popular thing, especially for beginners. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important to create content that you can use in different ways and in different streamlines. And then we have Big Marker. So as I said again, Big Marker as well is also very user-friendly, and it helps also to create snippets easily. You can create snippets in the platform, so it's easier to just kind of mark it down and really get those nuggets of information that you can share on your LinkedIn, YouTube, and just across all your social media platforms. And then we have Livestorm. So Livestorm is nice because you don't necessarily have to download the platform. You can use it online as well. And the integration of it allows you to really personalize platform for your engagement and just really target your audience by branding it with your brand and your company in whatever way you feel like you need to put yourself out there. And then lastly, we have Webinar Jam. So Webinar Jam can create automated mailer. It's also user-friendly and has a lot of customizable options. So you're not struggling to really just get in and really create these webinars. What we enjoy doing here is really creating a list of webinars for the month and just really directing them in a way where it creates a nice streamline of events where I don't need to struggle to sign up to the next event. It's ready for everybody to sign up and to get those auto mailers that Nomana spoke about. And then also LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a powerful platform that we use as well here. And a nice feature about LinkedIn is that it has LinkedIn Live. So LinkedIn Live is a way where you can go live and engage with the entire platform where anybody can join and everybody can kind of just create and get information live right then and there with you. And the amazing thing here is that you still get basic analytics that really help you see who's engaging with your audience and see who you're targeting within these platforms and within your information factors. So then we go and create a webinar checklist. I think it is important to have a checklist for all your webinar platforms. So what we enjoy doing is creating a dry run, right? So with our dry run, we will check for certain things such as testing audio. Are you visible? You know, can we hear you? Can we see you? Test your lighting. You know what I'm saying? So are you able to create light within your environment? And are you able to connect? Is your camera working? Are you using a webcam or are you connected to a real life camera? I think it is important to plan and coordinate a number of dry runs. As you can see that we do here from 1 to 2 or even 3 if you're a beginner, where you're able to see if your equipment works as well. We're living in a digital age and technology can be a really painful factor because it can be glitchy and faulty. So it's important to have these webinar check-ins. And I think it is also important to invite your guests within your dry runs so they can also engage and plan out a strategy on who's going to talk, how are they going to talk, and is their equipment also working as well. Cool, and now you're live. So now we speak now we're speaking to recording. Remember to record your webinars. Always record. you know? So the reason being is because you're able to then use that content to create the snippets that we spoke about, and just also upload it for the purpose of repurposing this content for people who missed the webinar, or if you want to go back and just rewatch and engage with the content again. And also remember to switch on your panelist mics and videos. So check that the cameras are on. Check that your panelists and your hosts are visible and you can hear them clearly. Also remember to screen share. So on these platforms, you genuinely have to go through the platform itself and open the chat up for people to chat. As you can see, we're all chatting in our chat right now. It is something that you have to preset and set up before you start your webinar, so people can engage easily with you, ask questions as well, have the Q&A section open as well, so people can engage with you and spotlight your speakers. We want to see who we're talking to. So always remember to show your speakers. As you can see, me and my lovely team here, remember to always have them present and aware. And lastly, as I said again, since you've recorded your webinar, utilize it. Use that content. Break it down into short snippets that you can just put across your social media platform. This helps really with optimization and retention. It really engages with your audience and keeps people informed about certain practices that you do as your company. You know, the beauty about this is that you can choose how you want to edit and put this content together. It's all up to you, and how you repurpose it is really up to you. So with our engagement, we found a way where if we're able to create short snippets that live on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or any other social media platforms, people are able to engage and reconnect with the main video and rewatch the entire series that we have. So there's a way where this all kind of comes back to you. It's like full circle. So it really helps just to really create engagement. So these are a bunch of overall considerations that you should always look into. I think it is important to create your own checklist as well that helps you to understand what you need for specific webinars, and just also a good way to see if you have the technicalities to create this. We as Shift One do offer this service as well, because one thing that has really helped us is that we have an entire team that curates our webinars, from the branding, as you can see, down to the technicalities, as we have a webinar technician in-house that helps with the difficulties of setting up your webinar. So if you are thinking of opening one, if you are thinking of starting one, please reach out to us. And yeah, we can help you start one. And we can also just facilitate and coordinate and brand your webinar in any way that you see fit. Thank you. That's it.
Just to jump in there. Thanks, Amartle. That was great. But guys, remember that we are all real people, right? Your panelists, your team, your clients, even in the B2B space, these are real people that you are communicating to. So just remember to also have a troubleshooting checklist and a contingency plan, because technology can go wrong, and it often does, right? So just remember that if something goes wrong, or a dog accidentally barks in the background, it happens, right? A lot of us, we work remotely. So if you connect with your audience on a real, authentic, level, they also know that they're dealing with real people. And that helps to build your brand. It helps to build trust in your brand and your authenticity, as you are the experts, hosting the webinar for them. So just be aware that troubleshooting, or technical aspects or issues happen. Just support your team. If somebody forgets what they were supposed to say, just jump in there and help them. If someone drops off because of bad internet, jump in there and talk to their slides, right? So it is going to happen. Real people, all of you attending, and we are very thankful for you, are real people. So just remember that, right? It's not about being absolutely perfect, but it's about being real, showing the real expertise in your brand. So thanks, Dylan. Just talk to us about what happens then after the webinar, after we've discussed everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so after the webinar, now this is the most important thing. We have had clients who, after the webinar, have elected not to follow up with any of their attendees, which doesn't make really a lot of sense to us, because one of the main reasons you are having the webinar is, you want actually to engage with people who enjoyed engaging with your business and with your brand. So very, very importantly, you need your automated mailers pre-designed, pre-written, and going out there. So those are set up mostly in your platform. If you're using a platform that doesn't have automation, you're going to send them out manually. We also send out, so we don't just rely on, for example, the Zoom automated mailers. We also send out a mailer to our entire database, because they did not necessarily all attend. So those of you who have subscribed to our mailing list and attended a webinar, you might get the same video link, but in two very different structured emails. So you've got very, very different worded emails, one for the guys that subscribe to your master database who didn't necessarily attend, just to say, just in case you missed it, here's the link. And then obviously for the guys who attended or didn't attend, but who signed up. So then very, 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 very important, go through the list of attendees and identify the people that you want to follow up with, call them, email them, make sure that you reach out to them and contact them, and keep on trying to give it to your salespeople, whatever it is that you need to do to try and follow up with them and make sure that you do have some sort of sales closing of the loop that happens. And at a minimum, make sure that you add them back into your database, because a lot of people may have signed up and not be on your database. So the attendees, you want them to get future communications and to just close that loop there. Okay, so without any further ado, we are now going to open up for questions. So I think there are a few questions here that we haven't yet had a chance to answer. We've got one from Makari. Does Shift One build blog segments on the various webinar topics, or is your blog functionality for other purposes, excluding the webinar? So Makari, that's a very good question. Our blog covers a host of topics, and if you click on our blog, you'll see categories on the right-hand side, but there is a very strong overlap. So you will also see there's a B2B marketing category, and you can click on the B2B marketing category, and you'll find all the blogs nicely segmented by that topic. We may have a lead generation category, we may have a social media category. So we have sub-segmented our blog, and I like your question, Makhadi. It speaks to what we call integrated digital marketing, where basically everything needs to dovetail. Your homepage, your navigation, your blog, your emails, your landing page, your webinars, your social media. You need to have this nice integrated approach in everything that you're doing. Do we have any other questions?
Let's see, William's hand is up. William, do you have a question? I'm not sure if the unmute functionality is live, but you're welcome to type a question in the chat for us. William?
Sure, I can unmute.
That's why it's handy to have a webinar technician.
William, you can unmute when you're ready.
While we're waiting for William, any other questions? Something we may have missed in the chat? I don't think so.
So somebody's...
We can't hear you. I think William is having technical issues.
Okay. We've also got a question about certificates, and there's been a number of questions for certificates. We actually haven't provided certificates in the past. But yeah, if anybody feels like they desperately need a certificate, we can club one out for you. As we said in the chat, you are welcome to email us. And that email address does work. So if it's not working, it might be your firewall that's rejecting it. Okay, since there are no other questions.
Here's another one. Sorry, Luyanda asked a question.
Okay.
Luyanda mentioned, during my learning journey at iHub, I've learned that conversion rate optimization plays a vital role in enhancing the effectiveness of your online efforts. Yeah, absolutely. In this case, how does Shift One Digital ensure that it delivers a seamless and compelling user experience to their clients or target audience? So yeah, Luyanda, I think Dylan just beautifully answered that question. where it is a seamless experience across different touch points, right? So that's where the landing pages, the social media platforms, all of those actually assist. And I think Dylan addressed that in a previous comment. Yes. Any other questions?
We've got one from Precious. Precious saying that we need the certificate for the course requirements, so there's no problem at all. Just pop an email through if you want a certificate, and we can sort that out for you. Okay, so as you know, Shift One is a full service digital agency, and we're also a marketing agency, so we can help with broader marketing as well as digital marketing, as well as social media, SEO, email marketing, copywriting, webinar marketing, B2B marketing expertise. We can do story brand workshops. We can do messaging workshops. We're very passionate about that. We can even do website facilitated brainstorm sessions where we can help work through, what should your website look like? Your website, there's a science to good website design, absolutely. And, most people don't know it. So yeah, definitely reach out if we can help with your thought leadership, employee advocacy, and just to open your leads pipeline. So how can we help you? And then also to remind you from Irma's side, Irma and her team are standing by to train you on these topics. So if you're like, no, I prefer to do it myself, no problem at all. Irma and the Digital Marketing Academy can teach any of these topics to you, or we can consult to you as well on any of these topics. So without any more further ado, I just wanted to thank you all for attending. Thank you to my amazing co-hosts, Amakle rocking it, Namana, as always, Irma bringing the good stuff. And thank you to everyone for joining us. We do wish you all the best. And remember to subscribe to our mailing list, follow us on social media, and share this. Like, comment, subscribe, and share when you see this out on social media. We would appreciate the love. Have a great day and go out there and be awesome. Thank you, guys.